What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I'm back with my latest video. I know off the bat, some people aren't gonna like what I have to say, but you know what? I don't give a fuck, because I'm not here to speak what's popular. I call it down the middle, and I call it how I see it. Now, just for the record, before I start, a little quick disclaimer. This is not a Top Rank bashing session, but I will say some things about Top Rank. In fact, I like Top Rank. I have no problem. They put on some excellent cards. I enjoyed Chavez Jr. versus Brian Vera, Timothy Bradley Ruslan last year. So they do their thing. They made the Rigondeaux Donaire fight the first time. Don't know if we'll ever see a rematch, but still, just like any promotional company, they're one of the best in the business. However, I'm going to speak my mind. Some will agree, some won't. But again, that's not what I'm here for. You can disagree, you can like, dislike. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to still do me, and I'm going to still call it how I see it. Now, regarding Garcia-Gamboa versus Mikey Garcia, I don't know if you guys heard. I'm pretty sure I reported this among other people. It doesn't look like that fight is happening in the near future. Initially, we are supposed to see that fight in place of what's now official, Juan Manuel Marquez versus Mike Alvarado at the Forum. That date was potentially slated for Gamboa Garcia. Now it looks like the negotiations are off and also the gloves are off. This is what Bob Arum had to say in a recent interview. There's nothing but silence from HBO. Garcia-Gamboa is not going to happen because, frankly, who the fuck is Gamboa? Why should he be getting as much money as Garcia? He hasn't fought on HBO. He fucked me in the Brandon Rios fight. What kind of shit is this? What 50 Cent singing songs? It's not going to happen. Now, a lot of people don't realize what's happening right here now. Mikey Garcia versus Garcia-Gamboa is basically why, in my opinion, we are not seeing Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. I think it has something to do with everybody involved. However, I think one of the main culprits for not seeing it, fuck the drug test and the disagreement, the $40 million offer, but I really feel one of the very top culprits for this fight not happening is Bob fucking Arum in Top Rank. Boxing as a business and boxing/business politics. That's it. Now, granted, there's random isolated instances where a fighter might be afraid. Like, I don't see many people who are necessarily begging and jumping up and down to fight Keith Thurman or Gennady Golovkin. But for the most part, I don't think you get into a sport like boxing not to be competitive or to be afraid. Like, if you're a scary person in general, then I think you would take a profession that doesn't involve like physical combat. And it's just like if someone's afraid of heights, I doubt they're going to like study and try to become a pilot or a rock climber if they're afraid of heights, unless they're just trying to conquer their fears. So in general, I don't think these guys lace them up to be scared. You know what I mean? Once they get in the ring and they feel someone's power, they might be scared, whatever the situation is. But by and large, I don't think fighters are scared. I don't think Floyd Mayweather is afraid of Pacquiao. He probably knows the danger of fighting a southpaw who's as aggressive and powerful and good as Pacquiao. Vice versa. Pacquiao knows the pure boxing, the multiple looks that Floyd Mayweather gives. So it's a risky fight for both fighters. So that being said, I don't really think either guy just is like shaking in their underpants about fighting each other. I think a lot of this stems from Bob Arum, and we're getting another glimpse on a smaller scale because obviously Pacquiao and Mayweather is the WrestleMania of boxing, just because at the time when it was first discussed, 2008, 2009, these guys are the international stars that they are, and they're boxing powerhouses. Now, this Gamboa Garcia's kind of coming up through the ranks. He's a few fights removed from being considered, oh, he hasn't fought nobody. Again, when I did my Orlando Salido Mikey Garcia prediction video, people said I was stupid for picking Mikey Garcia. And if you go back to that video, which is still up, read the comments. People are like, Mikey Garcia never fought nobody. And I'm sick of hearing that in the sport of boxing. So-and-so never fought nobody. Kell Brook never fought nobody. I understand nobody wants to see a Kell Brook or Gary Russell Jr. moved along at a snail's pace. But at what point can they fight somebody? So like Kell Brook is trying to fight Amir Khan, and people are like, he hasn't fought nobody. Okay, well he's trying to fight fucking Amir Khan, and Khan's using the excuse of he hasn't fought nobody. So when can he step up? Anyway, when I did the Salido Garcia prediction, Mikey Garcia was relatively unknown. I think that might have been his first headlining HBO pay-per-view, or excuse me, HBO televised performance as far as like the main event. And a lot of people had doubts. Since then, he's strung along some impressive victories and becoming a rising star with HBO with Top Rank. And Gamboa is a fighter who is almost the opposite. Coming out the amateurs and his Olympic background, people had high hopes for Gamboa. And in recent memory, he looks to kind of be just coasting, declining, like he's not interested, not the baby Tyson they were once calling him. So it could still be a great fight based on their styles, in my opinion. And now, since Top Rank has a rising star in Mikey Garcia, there's a risk involved fighting Gamboa. And again, you can say whatever you want about Gamboa, but it is a risk because Gamboa stylistically is completely different from the elite level fighters that Garcia has faced in his last couple bouts. He's different than the Juanma Lopez, in my opinion, who was already kind of done since the Orlando Salido destruction, both fights. I think that Juanma Lopez had been in too many wars. Still a good resume and name for Mikey Garcia, but there was no way I was going to pick Lopez to beat Mikey Garcia based on where he was at that point of his career. Rocky Martinez, another fighter who has the ability to make you look bad and be stealthy and crafty, but he didn't really have the punching power to destroy Mikey Garcia. Even though he had that flash knockdown, I mean, he's just not a fighter to me that has that kind of wear you down destructive power like a Brandon Rios or Golovkin or whoever, you know what I mean? So I didn't picture him losing that way. If anything, Mikey Garcia would get outboxed and frustrated and lose that way. Juan Carlos Burgos, he has the length and the range, but he's not as athletic and quick as a Gamboa. So any way you slice it, this is a great matchup for each other because Gamboa has sort of deteriorated and scaled back his performances and hasn't looked good, and he's been knocked down a bunch of times by lesser fighters than Mikey Garcia. But on the flip side of the coin, Garcia hasn't been in there with anyone as quick and as athletic as a Gamboa. So this is a hell of a fight that we're not getting. And the thing that makes me mad is with Top Rank, he's talking about he fucked me in the Brandon Rios fight, which Gamboa did. Because Gamboa was signed on to fight Brandon Rios, and they lost money because they had already started making flyers. The press conference was supposed to be in effect. Rios traveled from the West Coast to the East Coast, I believe. It was supposed to happen in Gamboa's second home, in his neck of the woods, in Florida or Miami or wherever. And Gamboa was a no-show. He didn't call, he didn't show, and he just turned out of the fight. In addition, the fight was canceled because he backed out of the fight completely. And on top of that, he left Top Rank and signed with 50 Cent. So all around, I understand from a business perspective, Gamboa did give Top Rank a raw deal. He left their company whatever way. I don't know how he got his contract. I don't really remember all the details. But he left, signed with 50 Cent, and he backed out of a fight. Cool. But you got to understand this is a business. So from a business perspective, fast forward to the future, that was some years ago, I believe. Fast forward to the future, it's still business and negotiating. And Bob Arum is going to hold a grudge from years ago to the point where his rising star can't take this fight based on something he did years ago. I don't think that's good business practices, especially when the fight needs to happen and it's an exciting fight. It's a fight that'll generate money for you, for your company, for the networks. HBO, I know, wants it. HBO would love to have a fight like that. And from what I heard, from the sources that I heard, they said that HBO was big up on this Garcia-Gamboa fight, and they didn't really give Garcia many other names or options that, because if you guys know about boxing and the business between boxing, the networks have to approve. It has to be a name that the networks approve. There's some other great fights that were talked about happening, but if the network doesn't approve it, it's not being aired. It's their network. For example, HBO was talking about at one point Daniel Gill versus Gennady Golovkin, but HBO was pushing for another fight, like a more explosive fight, because at the end of the day, it's about ratings. They were looking for a Kirkland or someone who make maybe a more action-packed fight, and I guess Team Golovkin ended up on Adama. That's why HBO didn't air it because they were kind of salty. They wanted him to go with Kirkland. They said a Daniel Gill fight is cool, but it's not our number one choice, so they kind of declined that offer, etc. So you have to get the clearance from the network, who is basically co-promoting and investing money into this fight too, by having it on their network and airing it, and it's all about ratings. So I know HBO's on board with a Gamboa Garcia, and it's just sad to me that boxing has become such a business. I mean, that's great for the fighters who can make a living and improve their livelihood for their family and their loved ones, but it's such a business to the point where the fans get fucked because the fight fans want to see these fights, and it may not happen because a promoter is holding a fucking grudge from years ago. And again, to compare it to the Mayweather-Pacquiao, this is a prime example. So what's going to stop Bob Arum from holding a grudge against Gamboa and not making this fight? Yet Mayweather kind of Mayweather fucked Top Rank also by becoming a huge sensation and a cash cow and the leader of boxing, the highest paid athlete, yet he's with his own promotional company that also does business with another former partner, Oscar De La Hoya, and a former member of Top Rank, Oscar De La Hoya. So picture two guys, Oscar De La Hoya and Mayweather, both leaving your umbrella, your brand, your imprint, doing their own business and being successful at it. And then people always want to throw it on Mayweather. A lot of people hate Mayweather for whatever reason. So when the Pacquiao fight doesn't happen, fuck the drug test. They're like, oh, it's Mayweather's fault. It's Bob Arum's fault, truth be told, because he holds grudges, and despite what he says, he contradicts himself. He says like, oh, I'm down to make the fight. They know how to negotiate business, but he doesn't want to make the fight. One minute he was talking about they have to build this big, massive stadium in Las Vegas because Mayweather sent a tweet and he said, I'll fight Pacquiao on Cinco de Mayo before he agreed to sign and fight Miguel Cotto. We're waiting for this big, massive stadium. Bob Arum was also talking about having it at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium and saying it's not enough time to promote the fight. Where is this outdoor stadium that holds so many people that was supposed to be built in Las Vegas? I know tons of people that live in Vegas because I live obviously in California, not too far. I was fucking a girl that lived in Vegas, all kinds of stuff. And I haven't heard of this outdoor alleged stadium that was supposed to be built. So again, just business, politics, and for the reason Mayweather-Pacquiao is not happening, I think Garcia and Gamboa is not happening. Another thing, what's the point of even negotiating if Bob Arum is talking about who the fuck is Gamboa? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you didn't want to make business with him, and then why didn't you just ex-nay the idea initially? He's making it sound like Gamboa brings nothing to the table when he, in fact, does. That's a good fight for both fighters. Personally, I think Garcia would beat Gamboa. That's just my opinion, but it's a good fight because there is a shadow of a doubt. Gamboa seems to fight to his level of competition, and there's been a brewing beef between the two. You got Cuba and Cubans versus Mexicans in Mexico, so it could be a good fight, and there is a possibility that Gamboa, I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't bet my life that Garcia beats him because I want to see him against an athletic fighter. So to me, it's a hell of a fight, and it's a fight that we should get, but for obvious reasons in politics, it doesn't look like we're going to get it. It's just funny to me that people can't see this. They can't see how promoters meddling in these affairs and holding grudges, and they're main culprit for why some of these fights aren't happening. And people always want to revert to the fighter. Oh, Gamboa's scared. He's pricing himself out. I mean, Gamboa's the one calling Garcia out and posting taunts and memes and shit about Garcia. I'm pretty sure he wants the fight, but as a prize fighter, he's not going to sell himself short either. Like, some of you guys are fucking foolish. If you're selling a MacBook Pro laptop and you got it for $1,400. You've only had it for 6 months and it's in mint condition, and you're trying to sell it on Craigslist, and somebody calls you like, yeah, I'll give you $100 for it. Are you gonna take it? You know what I'm saying? No. Say you need the money to pay your rent. You're still not gonna take $100 knowing you paid like $1,400 for it. Plus you're offering a free mouse and keyboard or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna take no bullshit lowball wager just in order to get the money. You know what I'm saying? And that's what some of you dumbass fans expect. I don't know the actual figures. Gamboa could be pricing himself out, but for him to request a decent amount based on the stipulations and the amount of money to be gained in this fight, that's not wrong. And a lot of you guys will be like, oh yeah, he's pricing himself out. Like he's supposed to just take, oh yeah, fight for 100,000 when he can make 100,000 fighting Darles Perez, but he's supposed to take an even bigger risk against a champion for the same fucking money, knowing damn well y'all wouldn't do that. Again, using my Craigslist analogy, if you had a laptop you were selling, a MacBook, and you know is in mint condition, you're not gonna accept someone lowballing you. Yeah, take 100 for it. Why don't? I thought you need the money. Like, yeah, I need the money, but I'm not willing to sell my soul and like give myself the short end of the stick. So some of you fans are fucking crazy telling Gamboa to take whatever amount, or Garcia or whatever. These fighters need to get paid. They're putting their life on the line, and that's where the buck stops. But I think a lot of problems stipulate from promoters and their emotions and personal feelings getting in the mix of business and holding these grudges. Like, oh yeah, Gamboa fucked me a couple years ago, so guess what? I'm not making the fight unless he, you know what I mean, unless I can lowball him. And that's bullshit. And for that reason, who knows if we'll ever get this fight. They're going to just keep matching Garcia with probably lesser competition, or, you know what I mean, just whoever's available. And another thing is just the whole cash cow aspect. When you got a rising star like Garcia, sometimes these promoters want to intervene. Not saying Mikey Garcia doesn't want to fight the best of the best, but his handlers, his promoters, they might want him to fight a certain style of fighter because that's their investment. He's a potential cash cow. He has already been mentioned in talks of making a Manny Pacquiao fight in the future and moving up in division. So obviously, why would you want him to fight Gamboa, which is a risk? You know what I mean? If he loses to Gamboa, who's going to want to see a bigger version or a more experienced version? Someone who's fast, athletic, quick, like Pacquiao. Again, if you lose to Gamboa, the talks that they were talking about Garcia versus Pacquiao, no one's going to want to see it. Like I said, if Gamboa knocks him out, then who's going to want to see him move up even more, like one or two weight divisions beyond that, beyond 135 to 147 to face Pacquiao? So again, it's a way that these promoters do to keep them safe. So you lowball somebody to the point where you know they won't take the offer, and then you could say they priced themselves out. Oldest trick in the book, man. And that's just the nature of the business. It's haggling, and not everyone could be a Sergio Martinez and give in to every single demand. We're lucky we're seeing Sergio Martinez versus Cotto, and one of the big reasons we are getting to see it is because Sergio Martinez had to succumb to every single demand. Cotto wanted to come out second. Sergio had to give in. Cotto wanted it to say pound Cotto Martinez. Sergio had to give in. Otherwise, this fight wouldn't happen. So not everyone's going to be content doing that, especially when you're at least Sergio Martinez versus Cotto. I'm sure he's getting a solid paycheck versus Gamboa is probably getting lowballed, or Garcia or whatever, to not make this fight happen. So again, it's not against Top Rank. It's not just Top Rank that's doing stuff like this. It's just a recent example, and I think this is much the same as the Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather fight. Why we're not getting that with Garcia-Gamboa. Again, nothing against Top Rank. It's just, I call it like I see it. In fact, I like Top Rank. Christina Poncher's fine ass. She can get it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.